our next principle is strength grows out of struggle. You know, the idea you're lifting weights, and I know you're not a muscle guy, so bear with me on this analogy. But the theory we have, neither one of us are muscle guys, but the theory that maybe somebody watching this might have a muscle. We do not have muscles, but the other people do.
Other people do, yeah.
But if you're lifting weights,
the camera crew has
muscles, and this is how you would build those muscles, is you lift some weights, then you kind of tear the muscle fibers a little bit, you know, and you get sore. And then they grow back stronger, and you continue as needed until you get big muscles, right? So strength goes through struggle in the same way for an entrepreneur. How have you gained strength through struggle?
You know, when everything goes well, I think you lose your edge. When everything goes well, I think you have a tendency to almost relax, to rest on your laurels. You're not really... you're not in there. You're kind of out there, but you're not in there. But when something happens that really causes you to reflect that, wait a minute, you know, I'm not 100% in control of this. You know, there's something going wrong. I think you go into what I call that treasure chest of internal possibilities that you have that can really cause you to discover who you really are. Because that's when you discover who you really are, is when you have difficulties, when you have struggles, your ability to stick with something and to stay with it and to come out a winner.
This is not a religious show, and we're not endorsing a certain specific, you know, viewpoint on that. But as far as your faith, because I've heard it said that you don't have faith unless it's tested, regardless of what that faith may be. But you don't know if someone really believes in the company until the company has a problem. Right. You don't know if someone really believes in their marriage until they have a problem, or there's things like that. I think it's amazing in your career, you've had some, I wouldn't call them failures, but they are definitely challenges.
Right.
What is an example of maybe some of the biggest challenges that you've had in your journey from the cotton fields to best-selling author?
Well, you know, I would say one of the challenges early on was not being able to take full advantage of some opportunities that came my way because I didn't have that academic and legal background. So I found myself signing papers that I should not have signed. I wasn't really schooled in the fact that attorneys do exist for a reason. You know, yeah, they do. They do exist for a reason. You know, and that was a challenge for me that I'm now learning to look at things twice. But one of the things that, apart from that in the work world, I think that's probably the only thing in the work world, but in my personal life, the greatest challenge that I faced was when my wife, myself, and our son lost my daughter, and my son lost his sister. That's not an easy thing to live with. When someone laughs in your house and you come off the airplane and a little voice running down the airport screaming, "Daddy, Daddy," and jumps up on you and doesn't care if anybody's there to see it. It's just you and her. And when you lose that, that can really tear you up or build you up.
Initially, when it happened, did it tear you up?
Totally, completely tore me up into shreds.
And how long did it take you before you could, you never fully rebound. I mean, I'd say today, I mean, you definitely...
You don't rebound, but you come back to life. And it took years.
Really?
It took years.
So what would you say to somebody watching this right now who's dealing with something like that? Something I say like that. I mean, you know, we just found out my dad has, you know, very advanced cancer. Or somebody who's watching this who, you know, maybe had a terrible accident, or they lost a loved one, or they just went into bankruptcy. They lost everything. Their business burned down. They didn't have insurance. That stuff happens. Mm-hmm. What do you say to that person? What would you say to that?
You know, and that's life. That's the one thing I've learned. That life is a day of incredible sunshine, and it's days of storms that you didn't ask for. But the sunshine always comes back. And it may not come back within minutes or hours or weeks or months or years, but in every life it tends to always come back. And that to me is what I would tell someone. You know, if you are in a situation where your life has been totally unstructured because of circumstances beyond your control, and there's literally was nothing you could do about it, then I would say rather than running from it, run into it and grab it and see what the circumstances have to tell you. I mean, today it's years, almost 2 decades since my little girl passed away. But it's not a day go by that I don't think about Annie. And what I do helps me to realize that my greatest gift in life is being able to share that life with others. And I use Annie as part of the motivation for that.